Hello, everybody. This is the 14th of April, and actually, this is the last. I'm just making a little short segment right now. This is the last part of the video that I'm making. So, because I did things a lot differently today. Today, I went out and I didn't have my battery charged up on this camera, so I couldn't talk about the news so much. Plus, it was a rainy, blustery day. It was kind of miserable weather. I was actually sitting in a place, and I could have done it in a cafe and talked about the news, but I didn't. So right now, this part that I'm doing after all the filming, this is going to be the first part of this video, and you'll see that I had an exciting day going to Volkovisk, where the wolves dwell, the place where the wolves dwell. And of course, it goes back into some ancient times, and I went to a hill. I probably, I don't know if I mentioned that how old that hill is. The town was incorporated in about the year 1000. I think, to be exact, 1005. So that's how old the town is, long before the Battle of Hastings in Britain and all this. We're talking about, I don't know. Anyway, it's old. So anyway, this is just the introduction, and I'm going to be tacking the other two parts on after this, and I hope you enjoy it. Volkovisk. Well, I guess that name has something to do, probably some sort of a Belarusian type of word. And what it means is like a dwelling place for wolves. So this is the land of the Starks. Game of Thrones sort of thing, I guess you could say. Actually not, anyway, but anyway, it was a dwelling place of wolves, and I think that might be some sort of an ancient name. I'm not even quite positive, but taxi driver said that a lot of times what he gets, and a lot of the other taxi drivers, people come here and they proclaim their love. I guess they maybe it's couples or something, because as you guessed what I just said, this was like a place where the Lithuania and Poland joined, became one. So, that has actually some significance in today's times too. When you're hearing about what's going on in Ukraine, and you saw Zelensky, he was in Poland, and they're talking about, a unification in the near future, or the distant future, actually, the distant future of Poland and Ukraine. But in the meantime, it's coming out all over that Zelensky has been promising, or at least it's been alleged, that he's promising to give the western part of Ukraine to Poland in return for Poland assisting Ukraine in taking back the Crimea from Russia. And as I've been saying, of course, from the very beginning, that a lot of people I don't know why people are missing this, but the whole goal is the Crimea. That is what's been promised to the United States, as far as I know. At least I highly suspect that. I'm not going to say that I have any evidence, but but I can point to a lot of reasons why, which I always do, and that's supposed to become a NATO, in other words, a U.S. military base. And what I was told all along from officers and things in my time in the military, is that the whole goal was to kick Russia out of the Crimea, but in fact it's changed now. It's to take the Crimea. Now the U.S. wants the Crimea, and because they've seen their success, what I'm talking about is before the fall of the Soviet Union. So after the Soviet Union fell, of course, they probably changed their goals and say, well, we just don't want to kick Russia out of the Crimea now. Now we want to take Crimea. So I think that's the whole goal there, and probably for the assistance that the U.S. has been giving Ukraine all of this time, I think the payback is probably going to be the Crimea. and at least establishing bases there, or a big military base, probably Sevastopol. I can almost promise you that's what's going on. And you know, it's kind of weird. They put the 101st Airborne in Moldova, you know, and then there's now it's been leaked that there are special forces, NATO special forces, and of course in the Ukraine. And of course I said that from the very beginning too. I mean, that's very obvious. There's even film footage where it was back in 2014 where there are Americans you know, doing the fighting in Ukraine on the Donbass area. So you know what's really going on. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more often in the future, like I've always doing now. But this place, like I'm saying, is significant because this was, again, Lithuania and Poland, you know, this at first, for a time, you know, it's been switching off. It first belongs to this country and then that country. It's Russian and then it's, you know, Lithuanian and things like that. And of course, like I said, in this whole region, as well as Baranovichi, the Polish government gives out free passports to all of the people in Western Belarus, you know, and I don't know why they haven't been talking about that. But as I say, this site right here, this little structure right here, I believe this is where they have bonfires, and I think it's like around the 21st of June or sometime around there, and they have it's like a pagan festival, and this is like, you know, it's another religion sort of thing. But not too far from here, there's another town where there's a monastery, and it's an Orthodox Christian monastery. There's like a significant icon there that some shepherds saw glowing. I did a video on this before, but they saw it glowing in a tree, and they came there, and it's a pilgrimage site for most people in the Orthodox Church, and it's kind of hard to see this, but you almost have to line up to go see this little icon that they saw glowing in a tree from a long distance. And the shepherds came and they found this, and it's like something carved in some sort of a material, and this has been significant because it's been taken to Russia at times and all that, but now it's back here in this area where it's supposed to go. And you'll have to look that up yourself. I'll try to find the name of that, and if I can, I'll put it on the screen when I'm editing this video of this monastery. You know, that's not far from here. So there's a lot of significant areas in this middle part of Belarus, so, you know, for tourism, but it's not really developed yet so much in tourism. Maybe that'll come in the future. So I'll show you a little bit of the area around here, if you can see in the distance on this Swedish mountain. So quite a blustery, windy day. Well, it's not raining at the moment, so I can take my hood off. Okay, well, that's it for this moment, and my battery's about dead. Idiot that I am, I forgot to charge my battery from last time. Maybe I can find a way to do that, continue this video, or I might have to do it from Baranovichi when I get back later on. But anyway, that's it for right now from Swedish Mountain here in Volkovisk on the 14th of April. Thanks. Bagration, General Bagration, 1812. This was a famous general that apparently he must have stayed in this house. I don't know. But he's a famous general that he was Georgian, but he swore allegiance to the king, to the Tsar of Russia, and he was instrumental in kicking Napoleon out of Russia, defeating Napoleon. Yes, that's a home. Belarusian monument. So, Bagration, General Bagration. Believe it or not, that's quite a surprise here in Volkovisk. Always say that wrong. So I guess there's just more to see than meets the eye in Volkovisk. Look at what I found, ladies and gentlemen. Lead Lenin, a lead Lenin. This was before he joined the Beatles. And as you know, you have McCartney now as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Went to Taiwan as well, just like Pelosi. And then you have Harrison. He made movies, Indiana Jones, and yeah. So you see what happens when you split up, you know, you go your separate ways. Starr. What happened to Starr? Ringo Starr. I don't know. Well, he's still making music, I guess. So anyway, but you know what happened to Lenin? No, anyway, it's a lead. I don't even know why these things are different colors like this. Went to some place they had a gold Lenin. Well, I'll show you this plots here first. This is probably Plosha Lenina, Lenin plots. I think most cities have a Plosha Lenina. Lenin Avenue, Lenin plots. I don't even know why. I don't think they're really that crazy about Lenin. You know, but see, that's a different way of thinking of things. And over in these countries here, that's not like you have to really love them and enjoy them, but I guess it's maybe something symbolic, part of history. In the West, they cancel the history. If something they don't like, they cancel it. Now looking for ways to cancel Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, maybe his crime was to say that slavery was an abomination to humanity and wanted to get rid of slavery before the year 1800. Then he inherited, of course, Monticello, and if you abolish slavery, then you sink immediately, but he barely kept it going. And then when he died, of course, it was all split up, Monticello, because he refused to treat the slaves badly. But anyway, that's a history that they're not going to want to tell you about. Probably been canceled already. A lot of things are getting canceled, so. I was going to go into news, but I'm not even sure if I have enough juice. I was able to borrow a charger, went into some cafe, had a draniki and chai, some tea, and yeah, in the meantime I was charging up this phone just to be able to, you know, finish up here a little bit in Volkovisk. I was going to be talking about news as I was walking around in Volkovisk, but I don't know. I can't really do that so much now since I don't have that much juice on here. So I'll either have to tack it on or make a separate video. I already did talk a little bit of news, and I'll probably just finish this same video, make it all the same video, and talk about news back in Baranovichi when I'm able to charge this thing up, maybe a little bit later on this evening. Here's the symbol of this town. Nice doggy. Nice doggy, nice doggy. Looks like people have been touching the paws and rubbing the nose. Probably supposed to bring you good luck. Look at this. I didn't even notice. I'm wearing a Jack Wolfskin coat. Maybe he's going to get angry here. If this was a live wolf, he's going to say, how dare you wear a Jack Wolfskin? So anyway, this is the symbol. Here's probably looks like a fountain, of course. It's probably going full blast in the summertime. Everybody's watching me because I'm speaking a strange language, as you kind of see back here. It's probably like going to the movies, seeing somebody speaking some strange language in some small town like Volkovisk. So that's about it for here. I'll be talking a little bit later anyway, but anyway, that's goodbye from Volkovisk, and I'll talk about some news pretty soon here. So this is not the end of this video. I'll be back. Hello everybody, I'm back from Volkovisk. Volkovitz. Anyway, I'm back, and I was telling you early in this video that I was going to tell you the name of this monastery. It's an Orthodox Christian monastery where, you know, it's a pilgrimage site for Orthodox Christians, and it's called Zerovici, Zerovici, and that's where they saw this the shining light that was coming through the trees, and you know, some shepherds and they lots of shepherds went there, and then they found this it's a small thing, like a little bigger than the palm of your hand, and I believe it's got a I actually have seen it. I think it's like the mother holding baby Jesus or something like that. And anyway, but that's in that in that monastery, and it's strange because I think just even before Zelensky took control and kicked out I don't know if it's still ongoing anyway, kicking out the monks of the Orthodox Church from this Kievan monastery. The person that's running, the opposition leader of Belarus, said she is going to seize that monastery, and to the one in Baranovici, by the way, Zirovici, seize that and then give it to somebody else or something, take it away from the Orthodox Church. So I guess they have some vendetta against the Orthodox Church, and it's kind of strange because when you look at the Syrian war in context, and I had written to somebody, I think unfortunately they missed this, and this was many years ago. This was I don't know, more than a decade ago, and I was mentioning that the Syrian war, that it was just as much a war on Christianity as it was a war against Assad. And again, Assad is the only Christian leader in the Middle East. So as far as I know, he's also Orthodox Christian, and we hear about some of the brutal crimes of what was happening to the people in Syria against the Christians in Syria from the invaders, and a lot of them had, of course, British accents and things. You hear about this and the evidence, and I didn't even want to talk about it because what they find some young virgin girl and what they did to her, it's it's very disturbing. I don't really like talking about this stuff. It's something it's important to mention these things, even though it's not really anything nice you want to talk about, that humanity does these things. And it's just like what's being reported lately here and going on in Ukraine, and it's been reported throughout this conflict over the past year, a lot of things of mutilating captured Russian soldiers and things like that. And there's now some surgeon that he was bragging about what he was doing to to Russian soldiers. Too horrendous, but also it's horrendous what they're doing. You've heard already about the chemical weapons that they've been using, and of course there's even film footage of places where they have a lot of this chemical weapons stored with I don't know, many drones, maybe 50, maybe 100 drones, where they're with big holding tanks where they're putting in these chemical weapons and then using them against Russian forces. And Russia's not even putting that out because it would not. Russians would not like to hear that, and they probably would not be joining the military if they knew that they were getting sprayed. And the rain is actually not rain; it's chemical weapons. There's my little friend here. Come to see me. You come to see me? What are you doing? I don't have any food with me. Anyway, but some of the other horrible news, and a lot of time you can hear a lot of this stuff on John Mark Dougan's site, because he actually reports on a lot of this stuff that it's not very nice to hear about. But there's lately been a Ukrainian surgeon coming out, and he was talking to a Russian, and then telling him what he does to Russians, and removing organs and things while they're awake without any anesthesia, and removing eyes. And he said something like, "You would be surprised on how much German grannies pay for eyes." And I don't understand as far as I know, you can't do eye transplants. I don't really know. I know about organs and things like that, and I know that there's places you can go, like into Israel. And remember when the earthquakes were going on, I've mentioned this before too, is in Haiti, and like boys and things that went into the Israeli tent, some of them never were seen or heard of again. And so the Israelis pulled out right away. And a lot of this organ trade is going through Israel, unfortunately. I hate to be mentioning this kind of stuff. There might be some people that don't really like me saying this, but it's not just through Israel, and it's other places as well. But anyway, it has to be mentioned so that people are well informed. If you don't hear about this stuff, then you don't know how horrible this stuff is that's really going on here. And anyway, there's other things. Now that's the worst news. So I'm glad I got that past me. But there's a Telegram channel from Alexander Krolenko, and he was saying, and it's of course not any new news anymore. It shouldn't be anyhow, because I read this a few days ago. I think it was from the 12th or whatever, and he's saying that the spring offensive, the Ukraine spring offensive, is put off indefinitely, forever. He says forever. Of course, he's Russian, but anyway, indefinitely. So it's not going to be a spring offensive. And this is partly in light of all of this, these Pentagon leaks, and then they caught this 21-year-old boy supposedly, if this story is ever true, and you never know. If nobody's ever allowed to interview this boy, then it's very suspect. It's just like those these apparent or alleged Boston bombers, if you remember that some years ago, and which is fake. That was fake. I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't do it, which they probably didn't do it. Matter of fact, I'm almost positive they didn't. They even have the backpack. Remember when there was a bomb set off, and they even have the backpack, and they showed a torn up old backpack, and it wasn't the backpack that those boys, because they have photos, CCTV photos of those boys, and they didn't have backpacks like that, with some pressure cooker in it or something, some filled with nails or who knows what all, And then they have footage of them arresting the older brother, the tall boy that has martial arts training, and he's completely naked, and they're sticking him in a police car, and yet they told you that his brother ran over him, so he was dead. So it's just way too much fishy stuff about that. Anyway, and nobody's able to interview them, just like the Skripals. They have the two Skripals. Nobody's allowed to interview. Nobody ever gets to. So, that's how that works. People are able to interview that Navalny or something. At least they have in the past. So his lawyer, of course, and all that. And Navalny, all of that stuff he was putting out was also fake. Putin's palace, which turned out to be some uncompleted place by Tuapse, in between Tuapse and Sochi. Some guy ran out of money, apparently, or whatever, when he was building this thing, and it was... and then Navalny was showing pictures of Putin's library inside, and they had people going to this place, and they showed you that's clearly the place that Navalny is saying is Putin's palace, and they show you that it's not even half built. So, and Putin doesn't have any ties to I don't think even the guy that was building this. So this was all fake stuff, and that's all this. I don't know. It's the leaps and bounds and the things that they go to, but yeah. But anyway, Ukraine doesn't have the weapons, and the UK Prime Minister's going all over. What's his name? Dennis Schmiegel, the precious Schmiegel. Where's the precious? As I think Alex Christophero's talking about the precious. But the precious is the US dollar. So he's going around looking for the precious, and the precious can get him weapons. He's flying all over the world trying to find more weapons. They need more ammunition. They want artillery, ammo, tanks, fighter jets, and I don't know if they need personnel. And I also mentioned earlier when I was in Volkovisk that Poland joining in, but I'll tell you what, Poland's not really ready either. They're not ready to join in, of course. And Annie Kay was mentioning how they're now increasing the pressure on the young Poles to be registered for the draft. And she said that there's footage now that where you have the uniforms of people, and I believe it's the Polish soldiers going, that they have a Polish flag and a Ukrainian flag now on the uniforms. So, that's kind of just getting a step closer. She was saying that it's very degrading. Do you think, especially if you join the Polish military and you don't want anything to do with Ukraine, and then you have to wear a Ukrainian flag? I don't know. There's probably something like that too. This Alexander Krolenko, he said that, and it's obviously true, that Ukraine would have, in order to be effective, they would need a quantitative and a qualitative superiority over the Russians. And for now, that's out of the question. Excuse me. Barring weapons of mass destruction like bioweapons, so that's why you're hearing a lot about these. I mean, they're using chemical weapons, and they've already been caught at least a first case scenario, like I mentioned, using bioweapons on that school. So I talked about that in the last video. Um, but I don't know. They won't be able to use genetic weapons anytime soon. I don't think that they're quite developed enough yet to do that. They've experimented on that on Ukrainian soldiers as well. Like I said, I think it was 43 or 48. I can't remember the number, and all of them died but one. And who knows? I don't know. You'd have to find the studies, and of course, it's all documented. So that's going to be part of maybe the war crime tribunal when Russia does win, and Russia certainly will win. So, barring something really horrendous, happening. Um, but there's still a chance that U.S. is going to send more weapons. It's a myth to think that the United States is running out of weapons. You're hearing about this on our side, of this equation. Not the pro-Ukraine side, but we're the pro-peace people, and they're saying, oh, the U.S. and the West are running out of weapons. Maybe it's true with a lot of European countries. The USA is not running out of weapons. Even Vladimir Putin said that they have plenty of weapons, you know. But, and then this, like I just mentioned, Poland entering, I don't think so. And I think Romania is even further from that. So a lot of people talking about Romania entering. Poland, yeah, maybe. And I think I also mentioned there's talk about restoring the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, Poland. And even the place where I was at today, and you see records around where that was in the state of Grodno. And of course, Brest, Grodno, and part of Brest was Galicia at one time, which was part of Poland. And all these borders changing. They're changing for hundreds and hundreds of years. But I think I'm sure that part of Belarus belonged to Poland from 1919 to 1939. So that's, 20 years or something. 20 years it belonged to Poland, and most all the rest of history it's belonged to, Russia or whatever. Like I said, if you, take and respect these shifting borders of here and there and all that, and I'm talking about Lithuania, Poland, so being part of Poland. Lithuania, that might be a little bit different. Maybe there were other longer periods of time where parts of Belarus belonged to Lithuania, but it's not like Lithuania is really, really pushing so much to come and take over parts of Belarus like Poland is. Poland is very interested in that. And Poland, I don't know, they seem to be expansionists. They seem to, I don't know, they want more territory. They're not doing a very good job with the territory they already have. It makes you wonder, why do they want more? But anyway, that's how it is. Russia really doesn't want any territory, but it's like it's being pushed into Russia. Like, they're not going to give Russia peace, unless, like, look at, you have the Ukraine wanting to use nuclear weapons against Russia and whatnot, and the U.S. surrounding the borders, and it's like forcing Russia to keep expanding. So it's just like they're forcing Russia to look for various currencies and to hasten the collapse of the U.S. dollar. It's very strange. I mean, and the U.S. doesn't see what they're doing, the provocations. I don't know. Somebody can write a book about that, and I think other people have already been mentioned about how the United States is destroying their own currency. And I'll get to that too, because I just saw something with Paul Craig Roberts, and I'll talk about that in a little bit here, but let me finish the rest of what I was talking about. Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she said she's ready to give a lot more money to Ukraine. She's ready to finance up to an additional $140 billion by the end of 2025. So from now to 2025, she's ready to give Ukraine another 140 billion US dollars. In 2022, the US aid apparently was 44 billion. So they want to put a lot more in there. And then it's the Polish Prime Minister Morawiecki. He's coming out and saying that these countries, they don't take this seriously enough, and they have to give even far more support to Ukraine. So really crazy. So they gotta escalate. It's the escalation escalator. Yeah. But of course, there's going to be a lot more. You find out there's going to be a lot more money that has gone to Ukraine, but they're just not listing it. Now I'm just talking about the U.S. contribution. It was like 44 billion. And think about the rest of them. Yeah. But yeah, and you add all this stuff up, and you look at who's running all of this dough, and then you have this billionaire Soros. You can call him Sauron. Sauron. This is kind of like the battle for Middle Earth, and they're the Ukrainians that are so good with projection. They're good with propaganda. And they're using projection by calling the Russians the orcs, when in fact they are the orcs. Like I said, projection. And Soros is Sauron or Sauron. I don't know. I forgot who these. They both start with S. And he's like, what, 92 years old? You can draw these, and are the Belarusians, are they the elves or they are the hobbits? One of the two. Who are the elves? Who are the elves, boy? Can you tell me? He won't tell me. Vasa van der Leyen. Yeah, part lion. Yeah, but anyway, we see this escalation escalator, and it's even going to be going up even higher when they start using more chemical and biological weapons. The triumvirate, the ideological triad. It's the I don't want to call them the Neos, because Neo was the good guy in the Matrix. So, but anyway, you got the neoconservatives, the neo-nasties. Thanks, Stephen Green, for giving me that. The neo-nasties, he's the one that gave me that name. Neo-nasties, you got the neoconservatives, you got the neoliberals, the triumvirate, the triads. So these people are putting us all in the escalation escalator. Yeah. And the U.S., Alex Cristoforo beat me to this one. I knew this very early. It was yesterday. And the U.S. is now sanctioning Hungary because Hungary was very dependent on Russian energy, even nuclear. And they couldn't get off, or else Hungary would die immediately. So they said, we can't. We're completely dependent on, that's one of the branches of the Druzhba pipeline, the southern branch that goes through Ukraine at that time, and it goes into Hungary, Well, it's not really, it's southern, it's western, sort of southern Ukraine, and going into Hungary. You're going to go out there. Cat wants out. He'll be back in about 5 minutes. He doesn't like closed doors. But I had to do this to make this video. Close the door here. So, and anyway, where was I at? Talking about Hungary getting sanctioned. Yeah. Makes you wonder what's going to happen. Hungary is not really in a position. They're surrounded by, for the most part, unfriendlies. So they don't even have a land-linked border unless Russia goes over and gets that part of the southern part of the western part, I guess I should say, of that little portion that sticks out there. That's part of the what do they call, Transcarpathia. And if Russia's able to go and move over there and secure that pipeline for Hungary, because right now I believe Hungary's paying the transit fees to Ukraine for oil going through the Druzhba pipeline. And they're still getting, of course, Russian oil. And, obviously Ukraine doesn't like that, and the U.S. is trying to cut that off, so there's going to be the sanctions there. Who knows what these sanctions are going to be? And then they're going to it's going to be the sanctions escalator. They're going to keep raising the sanctions, very strange. And even look at what they're doing with China, They already have some sanctions on China, I believe. But now they're all begging China. They want China in the beautiful garden, as you know. The U.S. as well. So they're all begging China to go after Russia with them. And then, of course, they're going to go after China. Help us to defeat our enemy, and then we're going to come after you afterwards. They're already going after China. They're already going after China. So yes. So and as you know, Soros, he's from Hungary originally. Um, and like I said, he crosses over. He crosses over into all of these three groups. He is like very close with Victoria Nuland and by connection, I'm sure Robert Kagan. That's the neoconservatives. Plus, he's called a neoliberal. And then, when he was a small boy, he helped the nasties. Uh, he was originally Jewish, and he would help the nasties go and tell the nasties where the Jews are hiding and things like that, which was his own people. So when he was a boy in Hungary, when the nasties were there, so what does that tell you? Boy, oh boy, Sauron, and of course Soros, he hates Orban, so makes you wonder really what's going on. I kind of I'm concerned about Hungary here. He's won so many elections anyhow. They love him there. But yeah, and yes, I was talking also about like these chemical weapons. I was in I did some training in Fort McClellan, Alabama, and I believe it's the entire post is closed now. But at that time, it was a training. I was an MP. I did basic training there, and then I did also there was some chemical weapons sort of training I did there as well. But it was normally that's the post where they train MPs, military police, and the chemical weapons things, and a lot of it is toxic. And of course, we had to you know, the usual go through the gas chamber and take your mask off, and then they ask you questions. You have to answer them while you're breathing in CS gas, nasty kind of stuff there. And then after that, you walk out, and when you hit the open air, it was like kind of fine when you're sitting in there, and then you get the open air, and then it really hits you. Your eyes are stinging, and your nose is running, and your mouth is running, and it's quite painful, and it takes quite a few minutes before you can get back up to normal. But a lot of the Fort McClellan is very toxic now, and I think it's off limits. There's toxic landfills. Monsanto is located right by there, and the main town. If you want to find out where it was, I don't know if it would be listed on a map, but you find Anniston, Alliston, Alabama, not Greenbow, Alabama, where Forrest Gump was at. Greenbow, go back to Greenbow, you know. Hey, I want to get some shrimp. But no, that's probably Louisiana or Mississippi. But anyway, that old Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does. Somebody should tell that to the United States government. I think they missed that one. Maybe they all need to go back and watch Forrest Gump. Yeah, but yeah, the U.S. and yet now everybody knows by now, that Macron is going around saying he doesn't want France to be a U.S. vassal, and it's sort of like Xi Jinping made some sort of an impression on Macron, and now Macron is getting slammed from both sides. He's not really well loved from the Russian China side. I guess you'd say the East, and he's not loved in Africa. That's for sure too. Some call him Little Napoleon, and now he's not really that well liked in the West either. So it makes you wonder what's going to happen with old Macron. I think there's an election coming up in France in a year or so, and as usual, Marie Le Pen is the favorite, and then somehow she never seems to get there. I don't know. Makes you wonder if there's a little bit of funny stuff going on there. Um, I don't know. Yeah, no, no. Some other news. It was like these U.S. smart bombs. I should mention this before I forget that the Russians are able to like hack or jam the controls for U.S. smart bombs called the JDAM bombs, and make them miss their target. It's normally supposed to be effective within 10 meters. I think most all bombs it's always within a 10-meter radius of their accuracy. And it was just like that in the 80s when I was in there too. So I don't know if they're any more accurate than they were back in those days. But anyway, it's the Russians are able to hack that. And also, a lot of those bombs, they were not even blowing off. Apparently, they would land and they wouldn't explode. But I guess the Ukrainians have been able to hack those bombs as well, so that they do explode when they hit their target. And it's really odd that this stuff is put out through the American and military industrial complex, but yet it doesn't quite work. You have to give some cause to concern there, and it's maybe that's why the Russian weapons are all rated as being more superior now than the Chinese ones. I mean, than the U.S. ones. But anyhow, what I was really going to talk about, and I thought it was very important, there was an interviewer from Sputnik News. His name was Dmitry Simes, and he interviewed like a hero of mine, economist. I love Jeffrey Sachs as an economist, and there's another one I liked. I mean, of a earlier age, and this is a very, very highly acclaimed economist, and maybe a lot of you from my age, or even you don't even have to be this old, 23. But anyway, if you're just maybe I think stopped hearing about this guy maybe 15 years ago, maybe a little bit less. But his name is Professor Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and he was the like Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, and he's a professor of chemistry, a doctor of economics, quite an intellectual. But when you hear him talk, he doesn't seem like it. He talks a little bit slow. He's not really that much of a talker type of guy. Well, my friend wants to come in here again, like I said he would, the cat. And as you remember, Vladimir Putin was just mentioning a couple of days ago that the United States has shot themselves in the foot, and they sawed the branch off that they're sitting on, and they shot themselves in the foot. Well, Paul Craig Roberts, he's doing one better, and he said that the United States has shot themselves in the head. And he said that there's no chance for the United States anymore. And you're talking about at one time, I mean, a lot of people even rank, well, at least just maybe around 10 years ago, they ranked Paul Craig Roberts as one of the top 5 best economists in the world. He's rated very highly in Europe. He actually has the highest award from the French government. I think it was under de Gaulle, the later years of de Gaulle, and when he rescued the French economy. What he did, so they gave him the highest award. And he's also known as the father of Reaganomics, and they give him credit for being the one to devise the program which collapsed the Soviet Union. He is the one that outlined how to economically collapse the Soviet Union, and obviously it worked. So he's not a guy to be sneezing at. So if you can find that interview, Dmitry Simes talking with Professor Paul Craig Roberts, and he's very sharp, and he knows all about Russian history as well. So this is a very sharp man. But he's talking about the demise. He said like I said, they shot themselves in the head, and it was a very, very bad thing to be putting these sanctions on Russia, and taking them off of SWIFT, and that was a big move to kill the U.S. dollar. It was not to kill Russia. It was to kill they're killing the U.S. dollar, not killing Russia, is what he was saying. But anyway, I hadn't heard much from him from 10 years, so this was very good to hear him. Yeah, he said the U.S., Paul Craig Roberts said that the U.S. has been making huge mistakes for the past 30 years, and they're killing the United States. And he was even mentioning this, I remember even more than a decade ago. I remember hearing things from Paul Craig Roberts, and he was saying one of the worst things that the U.S. has been doing is offshoring. They're offshoring all of the manufacturing jobs to Asia. And any intelligent person can see that this is a dumb move. And he said that all these moves of these sanctions and the taking them off of SWIFT, it scared all these other countries, and they're all trying to move out of the way of the U.S. dollar now. They're trying to get away from the U.S. dollar, and and now the United States is realizing its mistake of shipping away all of the manufacturing jobs, and and now they're trying to bring industry back. They're trying to bring the computer chips back, as you saw. Nancy Pelosi, when she went to Taiwan, it was. The Chinese didn't like that, but can you imagine, So friggin' what if she went to Taiwan? If you think about it, how is that going to do anything? She's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. She's not involved in any of those types of decisions. House of Representatives, of course, is involved in the finance of the United States, but it's not the military. They don't have much to say about military means. So, but anyway, Nancy Pelosi going there. The real reason why Nancy Pelosi went there is it's partly for her and partly for the bringing computer chips to the United States. Now, as you know, some of these top computer chip manufacturers now they're trying to supplant them into Arizona, move them from Taiwan into Arizona. But big surprise, as you already all know, that Nancy Pelosi, her and her husband are heavily invested in the computer chip industry, and of course she's invested in the Taiwanese computer chip industry, probably to a large amount of money. And of course, now that she's got a lot to say about moving this factories, at least one company, from Taiwan to the United States. And of course, that's what she's facilitating her when she was going over there. So, and then McCartney going over there now, I don't know what that's to do. I don't know, maybe the Chinese aren't so pissed off about that one. Yeah, but you can also see that the deindustrialization of Germany, a lot of that is moving to the United States. So the United States is actually panicking right now and trying to reindustrialize the United States. And Paul Craig Roberts has something to say about that too. But the U.S., he says, has been offshoring it for so long, it's caused Americans to no longer be able to work like that. The infrastructure of the cities and the factory areas are all ruined right now. It's all gone. See Detroit. Detroit is a big example of that. The demographics, they don't match up anymore. Education does not match up anymore. The supply chains are also gone. And he said that to bring back the manufacturing jobs, the United States will also have to drastically change the tax rates for corporations. You have to lower the tax rates, he was saying, to compensate for the high cost of labor. So you have to pay people in America far more than you do in somebody even than in Taiwan even, and any places. So you have to give them, the corporations, very low tax rates. And I don't even know if that's going to be enough to pay for the much higher cost of labor. And then he didn't say it, but this would take a lot longer than what you can imagine. To try to reindustrialize the United States. I don't know. I'm probably going to be too late by then. And I don't know how long they say it's going to take for the demise of the U.S. dollar. It's not going to happen in 1 year, and it's not going to be happening in 2 years. But it's slowly happening more and more. And of course, the value of the dollar is going down, as you may already know. And he was also saying, Paul Craig Roberts, so like I'm telling you, this is some brilliant stuff. You got to listen to Paul Craig Roberts. He was saying that the banks are much different over in China. The lending practices are different. So he said the Chinese banks, they lend for investment and potential. And the U.S. banks, they lend for existing assets, mortgages, and corporate takeovers. So they loan out for different things in China than what the American banks loan out for. And the things that the banks loan for over there is actually builds the economies. And the things that the U.S. banks loan for, it doesn't build the economy. Some of his last statements, that's what really got me. He said, the U.S. has lost its opportunity to short-term greed, and stupid economics. So that's why the United States is in the spot that it's in. Short-term greed and stupid economics. And what they were doing, and I remember this back in the 80s, they're talking about making a service-oriented economy in the United States and getting rid of the factory jobs and sending them all overseas. And I was thinking, what? Around 1983, I was hearing this stuff. So, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't need those dirty manufacturing jobs. We were going to get the high executive type jobs all over in America. Like everybody's going to be doing that, right? They're all going to be going to work in suits and stuff like that. Yeah. And one thing that he ended with when he was talking about
um, one of the biggest problems in the United States is the terrible and heavy censorship of the West, the disinformation and the blocking of important information. So that's, me even talking to you about this sort of thing right here. This stuff, I might even be censored. But, blocking, the censorship and the blocking of information. And he said the world is controlled by official narratives, and the U.S. exceeds the misinformation of Nazi Germany or Stalinist Russia, and it continues to get even worse, he said. So that if you see that interview, even just the last minutes of it is really something. It's really something to look at and to pay attention to. And if you're hearing lately also about this grain that's coming from Ukraine, they're finding that it's laced with heavy toxic pesticides, as well as being bad quality. A lot of these countries in Europe that are getting this grain from Ukraine. Cat's playing. I hope that noise. He's chasing something around. He's actually a young cat. He's only a little over a year old. Big boy though. But anyway, this grain, it's heavily laced with toxic pesticides, as well as the quality is very low. I think it was complaints in Germany and stuff saying that this is animal feed quality. The grain is for animal feed, and yet they're selling it, of course, at a low price. But animal feed probably goes even for a lower price. So anyway, they're just shafting Europe, with all this grain that was supposed to actually, a lot of it going to Africa. Maybe the feed, and I don't know. It was supposed to go to Africa. Maybe they thought it was going to go to Africa. That's why they were given the low-class stuff. Ukraine was sending it because that's probably what they, because they're the master race in Ukraine. You all know that. And they probably think a lot less of the people in Africa. Also part of this grain deal. Now, a lot of the European countries are complaining. A lot of the farmers are complaining because they are letting all of this grain come into Europe duty-free. And of course, labor costs are lower, and the grain is, of course, much cheaper and worse quality, but it's still harming the farmers in Europe. And of course, they're going crazy about that. But Slovakia, what is it? Yeah, Slovakia, that's the one that banned Ukrainian grain from coming into the country now. Who knows, other countries might be doing the same thing. And even Poland, their best buddies, Poland, the Polish farmers are also complaining about Ukrainian grain. He who digs a hole will surely fall in it. Wait a minute, people. Wait a minute. Before I go, I forgot to mention something. A little bit of news about Germany, Have to say something about Germany. Actually, this is Belarus. I'm duking Belarus. I should be talking more about Belarus. Well, not much has been going on here, so nothing that I have seen anyway. But anyway, I have to say something about Germany. And one part is that they're heavily promoting nuclear power in Ukraine while they're trying to get rid of nuclear power in Germany. Everybody's finding that a little bit strange. But actually, the funny news, you could call it a clown world, but I'm not Alex Christopher. But anyway, something funny, and it's just coincidence that I'm going to be ending this video with this, is that Baerbock, Annalena Baerbock, I guess the Germans, from what I'm hearing, a lot of the Germans are kind of ticked off. Maybe there's a few people out there from Germany watching this, and they can actually maybe be a little bit more exact for me. But I'm hearing that Annalena Baerbock, the people of Germany are kind of pissed off because they find out that they are paying for makeup on her face or some sort of a facial work or something like that, to the tune of I think it was 160,000 euros or something. Huge amount of money. I mean, just think of your wife or boyfriend with this LGBTQ plus sort of a world. Maybe the men will be doing that too. I don't know. But just think if they spent that much going and doing some kind of a facial work or something. But anyway, well, that's about it. I thought it's pretty funny that she's. Well, I'm sure the Germans don't find that very funny, but she probably should be going to jail anyway. I don't know. She doesn't seem to be. She's not much of a German. Some of these top people in the German government seems like they're anti-Germans, and makes you wonder when the Germans are going to find that out and say, hey, you guys are traitors. You need to go to jail. But anyway, that's about all I have to say for now. And if you're new, press the subscribe, and If you're not, press the like button. And I'll see you for the next one. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.